Hi, Jeff. Thanks for joining me.
Hey, Steve, thanks for having me.
Good to have you. We are talking about the office sector coming out of Q4 of last year. Certainly a part of the market that has gotten a lot of headline news, a lot of negative coverage, although I think we'd argue that the picture is a lot more nuanced and complicated than just remote work came with COVID and everybody left offices. A little bit more sophisticated nuance than that. But we definitely have seen across the board some challenges for the space. The office vacancy rate um, reached about 16.9, almost 17 percent, which is just a little bit above the 16.3 top from the global financial crisis. We're seeing net absorption has declined. We're also seeing challenges in a lot of markets. San Francisco's at the top of that list. On the other hand, a market we've been active in South Florida, that's featuring the lowest metro vacancy rate outside the tertiary markets with a vacancy rate below 10%. And that's followed by, in terms of strength, Las Vegas and then Jacksonville, Nashville, and Grand Rapids. And they are actually seeing some occupancy growth in some of those metros. Uh, that said, the areas struggling are the ones we've heard a lot about in the news. The San Francisco, New York having some challenges, Boston, Los Angeles. Um, some of your thoughts on the office sector coming out of last year and where we're sitting right now.
Look, I think I have a lot of thoughts, and that's a lot of data wrapped up in one short video. But I think the truth of this one is really it's market driven, right? Suburban areas are doing better because people don't want to necessarily drive as far to an office. They don't want to get stuck in traffic. The idea that people are going to continue working from home. Businesses have, and while even this article indicated that there's, I think it's up from what it was same time in 22. It's at 51.6% compared to 48%. That doesn't really discuss the actual sheer size or volume of people that are pushed back to work, and it doesn't really discuss the side that businesses have gone from a strategy of, well, we'll allow you to work from home, the whole time, to now it's maybe we'll allow you to work from home 2 days a week, maybe 3 days a week, but you have to be in the office the rest of the time. And I don't know that this article is really caught up to that all the way. But again, I think it's market driven. We're in Miami, and we've had some of our problems, but we're back into another leasing cycle, and we're seeing a lot of increased opportunity. Some of the other markets you're not seeing.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, I mean, Florida's been pretty strong. Areas with positive net absorption include Houston, Dallas, Minneapolis, St. Paul, negative, San Francisco, Boston. Uh, and we kind of mentioned some of the strength, relative strength in Vegas, Jacksonville, Nashville, Grand Rapids. But to make this, I think the way we've made it kind of simple. I mean, it is complicated, but the way we've kind of made it simple was we were inclined to look at office deals if they were in business friendly areas with positive demographics.
Yeah,
And the areas that are really hurting are the ones that aren't business friendly. You take a look at, whether it's San Francisco or Boston or Seattle or Portland or
Minneapolis.
Los Angeles. Yeah, it's, in general, you know, if you paid a lot to be in an area where the political climate was not supportive of you, you've been getting hurt. And if you went into an area that was more supportive of businesses, those have been the areas that have been doing better. So, I think, yeah, there's a lot that goes into this, but at a simple level, um, if you try to do business in places where people want you to do business, it helps out a lot.
Well, I think it also helps that realizing that managing an asset or managing property, however you want to put it, property management, asset management, all the above, leasing isn't. I mean, leasing is a puzzle. you got to be creative. You got to figure out ways to keep people there, keep them engaged, and want to keep them coming back. Some of these places, and if you think about it, it's like those big areas, San Francisco had all these amenities or workplace amenities that now nobody quite honestly cares about. So you're going to lose a large percentage of the tenant who had a big, massive kitchen that no longer needs a big, massive kitchen.
Well, I
You
think
know,
also, I mean, that kind of goes to was it quality of life matters. And a big kitchen is just part of quality of life. Another part is if let's face it, the cities that thought it was a good idea to defund the police, and have seen crime rates go up, they're at the top of the list that are struggling with office, and for good reason, because that's helped drive the move to the suburbs.
right?
People, the professionals that work in these places have some options, and especially as you got millennials looking at family formation, the suburbs were already starting to look more attractive. Well, now you've got higher crime rates, you've got, other problems with quality of life. Why not work in the suburbs? Or, one of the things remote work did, it did increase the ability of people to relocate in different parts of the country. And a lot of people who had that opportunity decided maybe, in my neck of the woods, they didn't want to be paying in Silicon Valley. Maybe if they could, maybe they wanted to be somewhere else. I think all those things have really hurt um, urban cores that pursued bad quality of life policies. And you're just not seeing the same challenges and Miami's a great example. Miami has done things to kind of preserve quality of life, and
Yeah.
it's attracted businesses and it's attracted people to come there. It's done the exact opposite of like Seattle,
Well, I mean,
Portland,
I
LA.
think one of the other side of this is that I think is and it just stuck out at me, and I don't know why I didn't prior to this, but it's absolutely glaring to me is that at this point, generally properties that are tracking keyed access, the actual swipe key access are a different class of
Yeah,
property than the ones that don't. So what do I mean by that? If you're talking about, swipe access, a lot of those, and by the way, we have swipe access on our buildings in Miami, but they're relegated to one person, primarily one person in one of the businesses that has access. It's generally just one, like the owner of the company. Not every single person has that. So, in these cases, you're talking about probably class A properties that, people can no longer afford the class A 80, 90, $100 a square foot cost. And they move to other buildings that don't have those costs and don't have swipe access.
yeah.
So,
I think you've seen two trends. That's one of them, including the move to the suburbs. The other one seems to be that those that can afford are just pretty much focused on the premium properties, and some of those older units. Especially you're seeing this in New York. They're really struggling. But the best of the best, the people that are still there with money, they're just taking the best possible spaces, and those properties are holding up a little bit better in these markets. Um,
I
your
mean, look,
thoughts
the other
on
side
yeah,
is historic. If you look at historic occupancy in office anyway, you start looking at, somewhere between your class C, class B properties generally have higher occupancy than class A, not because people don't like the amenities, even when things are great, it's because they still can't afford all of those amenities. So class A generally has a higher vacancy rate than some of your class B, class C properties. And most people don't realize class B, class C doesn't mean that it's a pile of junk. The class rating is really related to the age of it more than anything else.
yeah. I think we're pretty like he said. There's a lot here to cover. I think we're doing a fairly good job of just saying, hey, this is more nuanced than remote work came and office imploded. That there's suburb trends, there's different metro trends, there's different class trends. There's a lot of stuff going in here, and there certainly is a zone like San Francisco, but there's also certainly markets that are doing very well, like we're participating in more around
For sure.
Florida area. Some of your thoughts, just in the year ahead to just kind of close this out.
Look, I think it's going to be interesting just from the side of, with what the Fed said, with, how we may be seeing rates come down, what may actually happen with office. You've got the discussion of, I think back, on the side of the rates of whether or not, there'll be, people do, I guess really completing a lot of refinancing, what that's gonna look like. Are they gonna try to sell? Are they gonna try to convert their properties? I think honestly, I'd like to say I know what I've got a crystal ball and I know it's gonna look like, but I don't. I think the people who get creative in how they manage office properties are gonna be the ones who do the best. Occupancy is the key.
Yeah, and I'll just throw out as a closing statement here. For us, one of our key rules is to try to buy in markets where they're supportive of
Yeah,
you. And if you did that, you would have really avoided a lot of these markets that have problems. Um, but we'll be talking about this going forward. Thanks, Jeff.
for sure. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me.